Last time we spoke about the status, the political status of the regional area around Mecca, around the Arabia, and we said that the major two powers were the Sassanid dynasty or the Persian Empire, as well as the Byzantine or the remnants of the Roman Empire in the north, west and northeast. And there were other Arab empires, including the Ghassanids. These are Ghassaniyin, these are basically Christian Arabs. The Himyari, the Nu'man al-Bundir, the Lakhmids, these are also Christian Arabs. And there is also another group of Christians in the Kingdom of Aksum, Abyssinia, Ethiopia. It's actually part of Ethiopia and Eritrea together. And that was also a Christian kingdom. And finally, with the Kingdom of Himyarites, the Arabs in Yemen were controlling that area in the south of the Arab Peninsula. And in the middle of that peninsula were the Arabs, who are basically the ones that we're going to be talking about today and discussing that. And we discussed trade. We're not going to go over it now. We're going to go over it later on once we actually need to. These are basically the tribes of the Arabs that you see in the left side map. They are distributed around Arabia, here in the left side. I'm not going to focus on the names now, but there are small cities, big cities, and there are different tribes allocated throughout Arabia, not just in one side, throughout Arabia. So where did these tribes come from? Where did the Arabs in that area come from? And that's actually going to be the discussion of today. And as I said last time, it is important to understand the regional area, the economics of that area, the policies of that area, the power struggle in that area, as well as the relationship, the lineage relationship of the Arabs in that area. Because Rasulullah ﷺ is going to come out from those people, so we need to know who are these people. First of all, Arabs, which I am one of them, I'm not sure which one of them I am, because there are three different types of Arabs. There is the extant Arabs, the perished Arab, the Arabs that were there at some point and they do not exist anymore. And those are mentioned in the Quran as Qawm Adin wa Qawm Thamud, right? These are Arabs, they spoke Arabic. Maybe a little bit different, but they're called the Arab al-Ba'ida. And we're not going to discuss them, but they existed and they're gone. There is the pure Arabs, or al-Arab al-Ariba, and all of these Arabs who are called al-Arab al-Ariba, the pure Arabs, are called Qahtanis, mostly in the area of Yemen. They come from the area of Yemen. And in this schematic diagram, they are labeled here, Qahtan in the middle. I don't have a pointer with me. It says Qahtan here in the middle. And it's important to focus on Qahtan because from Qahtan there is this tribe of Jurhum. And Jurhum is the link actually between the Ismail alayhi salam lineage and the Arab lineage. Because if you know, Ibrahim alayhi salam was not Arab. He is the son of Sam, obviously, and through different lineage, parents, he didn't speak Arabic. He was not Arab. And Ismail alayhi salam was not Arab, therefore. And we are always saying that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is from the lineage of Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, and our Rasul is Arab. So how come an Arab come from non-Arab? So what happened is, when Ibrahim alayhi salam moved with his wife Hajar alayhi salam and his son alayhi salam Ismail, and he, by the order of Allah, settled in that area of the desert which has nothing else. Nothing else. Allah ordered him to go to that area of the Arabia called Mecca or Bakka, and to settle there and to establish the house of Allah, the Kaaba, as we all know. So who was there? Was only Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam and his mom Hajar alayhi salam. Now, if in the history of Yemen, you know there was a big dam there called Saddu Ma'rib. Yemen had a lot of water from the mountains, and they were actually very advanced. They built dams. The Sheba kingdom, Saba, Mamlakat Saba, they were very flourished because they had water. They were able to do agriculture and they did trade. So that dam was holding all the water, was making life easy for the people in Yemen. At some point, this dam collapsed, And in the Quran, it's mentioned as Saylul Arim. If you go to the Quran and write Saylul Arim, that's actually the big flood that happened after the dam collapse. So what happened to the people who lived there, and they are the tribes of Qahtan, the people of Qahtan who speaks Arabic. Obviously, Qahtan may have spoken Arabic or not, but his son, Ya'rub, and that's where Arab come from the son of Qahtan called Ya'rub. That's the origin of the word Araba Ya'rubu. He actually spoke Arabic. So the descendants of Ya'rub are the ones who spoke Arabic. And Jurhum is from the descendant of Ya'rub ibn Qahtan, the Ya'rub of the son of Qahtan. So these people, after the dam collapsed, Yemen became a wasteland. So they had to migrate. A lot of pure Arab tribes migrated north, including Jurhum. They moved from Yemen all the way north. And let's go back to the map so that we are. All right, so they moved from Yemen in the south here all the way north towards Mecca, towards Kaaba. Why did they go to Kaaba? The simple answer is there was water. There was Zamzam. You know, Ismail alayhi salam found Zamzam and his mom Hajar found Zamzam. So when there is water, you'll see birds roaming around. So these Arabs were smart about finding water. So they saw the birds. They figured out there is water there. So let's go there near that water and settle there. So they moved to that area and they asked Hajar alayhi salam permission to stay around and benefit from the water. She gave permission, Ismail alayhi salam gave permission, and they settled with them. So now the Jurhum people who are Arab, speak Arabic, came and resided in Mecca. So before that, Mecca didn't have the Arabs because Ismail alayhi salam did not speak Arabic. And it is mentioned in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the dua of Sayyidina Ibrahim, رَبَّنَا إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي بِوَادٍ غَيْرِ ذِي زَرْعٍ عِنْدَ بَيْتِكَ الْمُحَرَّمِ. Right? Allah, I have settled my family around your holy house. And the house was not there yet. Like the house was not built, but Allah knew that the house will be there. Ibrahim alayhi salam got the wahi that the house will be there. And it's maybe the foundations were still there. That I will leave them there. بِوَادٍ غَيْرِ ذِي زَرْعٍ. The area didn't have anything. Anything. So nobody could have gone there for the beauty of the place, the establishment of the place. No. Allah just wanted that place to be pure and holy and will be like sought for the purpose of having the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the dua of Sayyidina Ibrahim says, Oh Allah, make people come to them. And that's, subhanAllah, the answer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered dua of Sayyidina Ibrahim, and the Jurhum people came to him. And now we have Ismail alayhi salam living among the Jurhumites, the Jurhum tribe, and who spoke Arabic. What happens when you live with people? You get married from them as well. So Ismail alayhi salam married the leader of the Jurhum tribe's daughter, and he basically learned the language. He had kids, and throughout multiple generations of the kids of Ismail alayhi salam, we have one of his lineage called Adnan. So multiple parents, we don't know how many. Some people say 6, some people say 41. It doesn't matter. No one of the scholars have figured out exactly how many parents, grandparents between Ismail alayhi salam and Adnan. But we all know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes from Adnan. And Adnan is one of the lineage of Ismail alayhi salam. Through different mechanisms, people have kind of wrote that. It doesn't matter for us. And this is a very busy lineage family tree. I wanted just to focus on the green shaded area. If it looks green there, I'm not sure. Or blue. Is blue or green? And if you count those kind of rectangles, the blue or the green, how many you will count? Anybody knows how many between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ismail and Adnan, the lineage of Ismail alayhi salam? It's 20. And that's, everybody agrees on this 20. All the scholars, all the historians agree that there has been 20 generation between Adnan and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, our beloved Prophet. And it goes through those blue boxes. So when we say Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is the son of Abdullah, son of Abdul Muttalib, son of son of Hashim, and again, I'm not going to say his real name, Amr. Hashim name is really Amr. Even Abdul Muttalib name is not Abdul Muttalib, his name is Shayba. We'll come to that. So he's the son of Abdullah, son of Abdul Muttalib, son of Hashim, ibn Abdi Manaf, ibn Qusay, ibn Kilab, ibn Murrah, ibn Ka'b. You go to the middle of the page. Ka'b ibn Lu'ay, ibn Ghalib, ibn Fihr. And Fihr, name is Fihr, but his kunya is Quraysh. That's how we have Quraysh, through Fihr name. His name got changed to Quraysh, and we'll say why. Ibn Malik, Ibn Nadr, Ibn Kinana, and you say all of these people are Banu Kinana, because the original tribe is Kinana. Ibn Mudraka, Ibn Liyas, Ibn Mudar, Ibn Nizar, Ibn Ma'ad, Ibn Adnan. That's how the lineage of Rasulullah. That's majority of the shuyukh, when they're inside the lineage of Rasulullah, they tell you these 20 names. So how many do you know out of these names? Hopefully you can memorize them later on, because it's the lineage of our Prophet and it's a noble lineage. But majority of the people will know the lineage from Qusay downward. So Qusay is where we actually will be focusing on. Qusay, and he's like Qusay ibn Kilab, and from Qusay here in the right side, Qusay, he has sons like Abdul Manaf and Abdul Uzza and Abdul Dar and Abdul Shams. So this is kind of the lineage. And from that, Adnan, the other tribes also show up. Not only Quraysh. In the yellow highlights, there are the Ghatafanis, there are the Sulaim, Hawazin, Abs, Hudal, Tamim. A lot of tribes that you saw in the previous map come from this descendants of Adnan. All of them are descendants of Adnan. As I said, the original Arab, the pure Arab, came from Yemen. Some of them went to Mecca, some of them went to Medina, some of them went to even north, all the way to Sham, to Levant, including the Ghassanids. They came from the pure Arabs. So when the dam of Ma'rib collapsed, they went everywhere. Some of the tribes went to actually Medina, and that's where we get Aus and Khazraj. They actually originally from Yemen. They are original Arabs. They are from Yemen. So every time you'll see a name of Arabi, you will actually can go back and you can trace them back to their original descendants. And Arabs used to be good with that. That mattered to them. And we'll come to that and why it matters to them. So our Prophet ﷺ lineage goes through Adnan, and we said Adnan is the Nasl of Ismail. We don't know exactly how and when, but they connect to Ismail, and Ismail became an Arabic person because he learned it from his in-laws. That's why we don't call majority of Arabs who are living in that area, the Nasl of Ismail, the offspring of Ismail, we don't call ourselves pure Arabs. We call ourselves Arabized Arab. Like we are gained the language. We acquired the language. We are not pure Arabs. All right? So we're called Arabized Arab. And I think I have a slide for that somewhere. Yeah, the Arabized Arab. Okay? So the pure Arabs are the Qahtanis, and they are all over the place in Yemen and all of it. And many of the people in the Bilad al-Sham and the descendants of Adnan, including Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is Arabized Arab. So they learned the language through somebody else. Now Mecca, as you can see, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي زرع, is a valley. A valley means there are mountains around it, right? Wadi means valley. And the valley happens because there are mountains around it. As you can see in this map, and this map is basically a depiction of Mecca at the time of pre-Islam, like 600 CE or AD. So around that time, people lived, as you can see, around the Kaaba. That wasn't the case all the time. But the map here should show you the following. And as you see, the north is the red line there. So then the top mountains these are from the west. They are almost covering majority of the Mecca Valley. In the south, these are eastern mountains. They're covering the eastern side of Mecca. So Mecca is protected between two mountains. And that's why when the Malak Jibreel comes to Rasulullah and he says, do you want me to punish the Meccan people? سَأَطْبُقُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَخْشَبَيْنِ. The Akhshab means mountain. So these are two mountains, two kind of chain of mountains. And the angel Jibreel asked Rasulullah, do you want me to kind of collapse the two mountains of them? These are the two mountains. One series here and one series there. And there is a passage that goes from south to north and north to south. And that's why they were easily moving north and south in their routes. And this tells you also how, I mean, it's a busy map. I'm not going to ask you to look at any one of these, except that each tribe of Mecca, each kind of clan of the tribe of Quraysh resided in a neighborhood. And we'll come to the details of that. And that's how you would identify where people live. And if I ask you, where was Rasulullah born? He's not going to be born in a house in a different tribe area. He's going to be born in a house near his tribe location, near his sha'b. And this actually, in somewhere here, number 29, that's the house that Rasulullah ﷺ was born in, and that's Shi'b Bani Hashim, because Bani Hashim is his tribe. It's number 29, Prophet's birthplace. But you cannot see it here, it's not very clear anyway. So again, we're going to focus on this clan, which is basically starting from Qusay and Abdul Manaf to Hashim to Abdul Muttalib and Abu Talib, and then Abdullah and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But before we go to the red line of the tribes, there are names that you recognize from the seerah. For example, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He is from which tribe? He's not from the same tribe or lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's from Banu Taym. He's from Banu Taym. And Banu Taym are listed here in the middle, clan of Abu Bakr and Talha. They are from Taym. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he's from the clan of Adi. He's the clan from Adi. And that's listed here. Adi, no, sorry, not, Umar, Adi here in the second line in the middle, clan of Umar. Different tribes have obviously different famous names. For example, Makhzum. It's not from the same clan of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Makhzum is the clan of Khalid ibn Walid. Khalid ibn Walid is the son of Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. Al-Walid al-Mughira is a Makhzumi. Who else is a Makhzumi? The famous Abu Jahl, Amr ibn Hisham. He is the cousin of Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. So Amr ibn Hisham is from Makhzum. He's not from the same lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And different names that you will inshallah know throughout the seerah, they are from different tribes. But the tribe of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is noble. Other tribes are also noble. But throughout the tribe of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all the way from Adnan to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the names that we're going to discuss have had a significant impact on life on Mecca and life, obviously, pre-Islam in Mecca, in developing its policies, developing its business, developing its culture, and developing its relationship with the others. So Mecca before Islam was controlled by 4 different groups. The first one that controlled Mecca and the Kaaba was Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son Ismail alayhi salam. And then because Ismail married from the Jurhum people, and the Jurhum is a bigger tribe obviously, the father-in-law of Ismail alayhi salam decided that his kids need to rule the area. So the kids of Jurhum, the Jurhum clan leader, actually controlled that land. So it's not anymore under the Ismaili control, Ismail alayhi salam's son control. Jurhum controlled the land. And Jurhum was a very vicious clan actually. They wanted to gain more and more, and they got into so many fights. And then another tribe, again that tribe is part of the lineage of Adnan from Khuza'a. It's called Khuza'a. And you please remember that name. Khuza'a is very important in the history of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Khuza'a people aligned themselves with the sons of Ismail alayhi salam, some dissident down the road, like 5-6 generations down the road, and fought Jurhum to take over the house of Allah. Because Kaaba was important to all these people. You know, it's the house of Allah. They knew that Ibrahim alayhi salam put the house. They were actually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they wanted to control. So Jurhum fought him back. And now we have a fight between Khuza'a and Jurhum. Jurhum was defeated. And when they got defeated, they went back to Yemen. But before they go back to Yemen, they did a couple evil things. And the most evil thing they did is they actually blocked and damaged Zamzam. The water that brought him in, to start with, right? The water that brought him in, before they left, they made sure to dump everything in it, to close it, and to level it with the ground that nobody can find it. And for 300 years, nobody could have found it. So the Meccans did not know where was Zamzam. the people of Mecca who lived there, Khuza'a and then Quraysh, for a long, long time, Zamzam was not accessible. Therefore, these people, the Jurhum, by damaging Zamzam, dumping everything that was in Kaaba, they throw it inside Zamzam. Stones, gold. Actually, they had gold. They dumped it because they couldn't carry it with them. They dumped even deers that, monuments of deers that were given to them by Kisra, by the Persian Empire, as a welcome gift, you know. We would like to do business with you, so they gave them a gift. And these were dumped inside Zamzam. And then Khuza'a then controlled the land, and Khuza'a lasted for also a long time. And then Quraysh conquered Mecca from Khuza'a. And this is where Qusay comes into the picture. And this is basically starting now to realize this is the time of the grandparents of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How did they gain control of Mecca? So Qusay ibn Kilab, just like Jurhum, Ismail married from the Jurhum, Qusay ibn Kilab actually, after the sons of Ismail left Mecca, they went north. But then he decided, I'm the son of Ismail, I'm the son of Adnan, I want to go back to Quraysh, I want to go back to Mecca. So he went back to Mecca and married the daughter of the Khuza'i leader. He married the daughter of Khuza'i leader. And this Khuza'i leader was a wise man. He saw that this Qusay ibn Kilab, Adnani, was really a smart man. He's able to manage people, he's able to talk. So he wanted him to lead the Quraysh, to become the leader of Mecca after he passes away. That's his wasiyah. That was his will. When I die, I'm the leader of Khuza'a. When I die, I want Qusay, my son-in-law, to manage Mecca. The Khuza'i people didn't like that, obviously. Why would you give our land to a stranger? He was a stranger, although he was originally from there, but he left and came back. But Qusay, with his smartness, he was able to control the war between Khuza'a and the people of Quraysh. And Qusay was the actual, let's call it, creator of Quraysh. While Quraysh was created before through Fihr, as I said, his name is actually, the other name is Quraysh for him, and they called him Quraysh because Fihr, again, the grandfather of Qusay, was the one that collected the Arabs from Adnan back again. And the tribe of Quraysh was the most common of them, so he was called Quraysh. And also there's another narration saying that he was called Quraysh because they used to do trade, and Qursh means like a coin. Qursh means a coin. So they used to kind of make money. So they call him Quraysh. Or Quraysh means like the one who leads the way for them in the desert, like the wayfinder, you know, their GPS. And the other tribes would say, أقبلت عير قريش, like the camels of the leader of that the GPS person for them. He was named Quraysh, so they call him Quraysh. So there are different reasons, and actually some other narrations say that it's called Quraysh because they were so strong, like smart, they would take business from anybody, and they call him Quraysh just like the shark, taking money from others. So the different reasons for naming Quraysh, maybe it doesn't matter too much, but Quraysh, Fihr, is the reason why the name was given. But Qusay is the actual person that brought the Quraysh people back into the area of Kaaba, brought them back to the area of Haram, and he actually allied them together, and therefore he is the one who united the Quraysh clans. All these Quraysh clans that you saw on the map, they were all over the place. He is the one that allied them together and fought the Khuza'i people and captured Mecca again. He also did something different. Not only he united them, he actually asked the Quraysh people to move back towards Kaaba, not just to be around Mecca, because previously, and remember, I said Arab generally worshipped the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the religion of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhim salam. So they were monotheists, they were muwahideen, okay? So they respected the Haram. Haram was huge value for them. And out of respect, they felt that they are not even worthy of living in the area of the Haram. They were not worthy of that. They would live outside the mountainous area that you saw, and they would only visit during the day, and when it's night, they'll go back home. They wouldn't stay in the haram. There was nothing in the haram except the haram. That's out of respect. All right? Qusay decided to change that. He said, why can't we live near the haram? To gain, and he's a smart leader. He united the Quraysh people. He said, to gain more influence, we need to be the neighbors of the haram. Not only people who take care of the haram or around the haram, we will be in the haram. So he actually invited all the clans of Quraysh to come and live around the haram, just like you saw those houses in the previous picture that I showed. This is something nobody done before. Arabs were furious. How could you do that? Allah is going to be mad at us now. But Qusay again was the smart leader. He established other changes within the system that Arabs have got used to. And I want to bring back to attention that because Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam called people into Hajj, the people of Arabia there responded to that. They came to Hajj. So Hajj was established at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam and continued. It did not stop until today. Hajj has been going on for years and years and generations and different formats. So at the time of Jurhum, at the time of Khuza'a, Hajj was happening. Arabs used to come to Mecca. And Qusay changed the format to make this issue of I'm living around the Kaaba palatable to the other Arabs. He became the caretaker of Kaaba, the caretaker of the Hujjaj as well. So, nobody was feeding these Hujjaj. Nobody was providing any services for them. Nobody was taking care of them. Qusay decided, okay, to make them accept my presence around Kaaba, I will be like their serviceman. So he started slaughtering animals around the entry of each route of the Mecca from all the valleys, from all the areas. Wherever the Arab come from any road, he would like slaughter animals for them, cook for them, feed them. That's called rifada. Rifada is feeding the Hajjis. So he established the rifada ministry. Like, think of these are the kind of political systems now in Mecca. He established the rifada. He will slaughter and feed the Hujjaj. And that's a great service. Imagine traveling in Arabia for months in the desert or weeks with no food and drink, and arriving at the footsteps of Mecca and somebody is feeding you right away. You will say, mashallah, what a great leader, right? Again, feeding people is always and has been a great blessing and an advantage. So Qusay learned that from day one. And he also provided drinks like, water and Lebanon, milk, and that was another like service. He also provided service to the Kaaba itself, like who gets into Kaaba, who gets into the Haram area doing tawaf. He controlled that. He organized that. Previously, anybody come in, does the tawaf, there is no organization. Like, think of what the Saudis are doing now. Qusay did that some 1800 years ago. Qusay did that. And he also established and built a house for himself called Darun Nadwa in the Haram, in the Sahin. Darun Nadwa was part of the Tawaf area. And that's the Darun Nadwa that we hear about in the Seerah of Rasulullah when the Quraysh people meet in Darun Nadwa. That Darun Nadwa was their parliament. And they actually did not do anything or decide anything without conducting a meeting in Darun Nadwa, in the meeting place in the parliament. He also created a liwa, like a raya. A liwa is like the sign of, this is the Ministry of Defense. These are the people who will decide when we go to war, when we make a treaty. Declaring wars was the decision of a liwa. So Qusay organized all these services. So the Arabs who used to come for Hajj were very impressed, really. Remember, Arabs are Bedouins, had no organization, have no structure, there is no other civilization going on. So when they see such organization, when they see such structure, they were impressed. So Qusay was able to hold to the position of the caregiver of the Kaaba, remain in the Kaaba, and that's a big move that all the Arabs were impressed by and respected later on. But obviously Qusay is Qusay, and once somebody dies, things happen, things change. Qusay used to do all these functions. It's not always from his own money. He would have other people's money as well chipped in so that they can service Kaaba and service the Hajjis. But after he passed away, and actually before he passed away, the the tradition in Arabs has been that you give responsibilities to your older son. You know, we do that. I'm sure other cultures do that. So if you are Abu Muhammad, Muhammad will be somebody who will take care of your business, your businesses, your houses, and sometimes actually Arabs allow their older sons to take care of their wives and other things. So he had multiple sons, two major ones, Abdul Dar wa Abdu Manaf. These are two sons of Qusay, Abdul Dar and Abdu Manaf. And these two names are relevant all the way to the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you want to remember them, like remember Abdu Manaf and Abdul Dar. And after Qusay passed away, or before Qusay passed away, he said, I'm going to give all this responsibility, the 5 responsibility, to my older son, Abdul Dar. His name is Abdul Dar, he's the oldest son. But Abdul Dar was weak. Abdul Dar was not that organized. Abdul Dar was not able to keep up with the requirement of the managing of the Hajjis, the feeding, the drinking, the safety, the opening, closing Kaaba, all that business. He was not able. His brother, Abdu Manaf, was a charismatic leader. He was the person who can actually organize and do things. So he did. But in name, Abdul Dar was the leader. But in reality, who was doing the business? Abdu Manaf. Now, Abdu Manaf was happy doing the service for his brother, no problems. But you know, when the elders die, then we have now the sons. So the Banu Abdu Manaf, the sons of Abdu Manaf, and the sons of Abdul Dar, next kind of generation fought over these responsibilities. Because Abdu Manaf kids, including Hashim. So one of the Abdu Manaf kids is Hashim. And I said Hashim name is Amr. And the way the name changed to Hashim, for a reason. You know, there is a reason for everything, obviously, but I'll mention this short story. Hashim came from the word Hashama, means to break down. His name was Amr, but when he became the leader, he used to actually bring barley and flour from Levant and make bread and kind of yahshumuha, basically break it down over the top of the meat and serve it to the Hajjis. So his name became Hashim, like the one who breaks the bread and put it on top of the meat for the Hajjis to eat. So his name became Hashim. So Hashim continued to do all these duties without the title. Hashim continued to do all these duties without the title. Abdul Dar people were getting the titles, but he's doing the service. He felt that was unfair, right? It's totally unfair. And Hashim is not anybody. He is a very charismatic, smart person, and we'll talk about him in a second about his business deals. So the Hashim brothers, which are the Banu Abdu Manaf, along with other tribal alliances, and this is the first alliance that happens in Mecca. It's called Hilful Mutayyibin. These are called the Hilful Mutayyibin, the pledge of perfume wearers, and there is a reason why they're called the perfume wearers, because when they decided the following, the Arabs have to figure out a way to put a stamp on the paper, right? There was no paper. There is no paper. So the paper that they used to do was the Kaaba wall, okay? That's the paper. And the stamp was their hand. So what happened? The two families, the Abdul Dar and Abdul Manaf, fought over the responsibilities of serving the Hajjis, the 5 ministries that we talked about. Abdul Dar took the 5 because his father gave it to them, but Abdul Manaf kids, Hashim, used to do the work, therefore they asked for it. And then other tribes came with them. So with Abdul Manaf came Banu Asad, Banu Zuhra, Banu Taym, Banu Al-Harith, and allied with them with Abdul Manaf. And when they did the alliance, they called Hilf al-Mutayyibin, they got kind of a bowl of perfume. They put their hands in that bowl and said, we agree on this, that you are more worthy than your brother in leading the Makkah people. And they stamped their hand in the perfume, put it in the Kaaba, and that's called Hilf al-Mutayyibin, the alliance of the perfume wearers. At the same time, the other side, called Hilf al-Ahlaf, the Abdul Dar were angry. So these people allied with my brother, with our kind of cousins, saying that they are more worthy of this house leadership. We are more worthy, and we're going to bring more tribes with us. So they brought Banu Makhzum, and remember Banu Makhzum is where Abu Jahl come from, right? Banu Jumah, Banu Saham, and Banu Adi. Banu Adi is where Umar al-Khattab come from. Allied themselves with Banu Abdul Dar. So now Mecca is divided. There are tribes here and here, and they are ready to go to war over the responsibilities of serving the Hujjaj. It's not about actually doing good. It wasn't about doing good. It's about leadership. It's my territory. It's It's about my clan, my people, my Banu so and so. Arabs had this pride about their lineage, and my family did that, your family didn't. And this will come very visible, inshallah, when we discuss the events with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there is a reason why I'm discussing this, because it will be very visible why it matters who you are from where at that time. So they didn't fight. Alhamdulillah, they figured it out. So Abdu Manaf, the Hashim and his brothers took the Rifada, which is feeding the people, and Siqaya, which is giving them drinks, while Abdul Dar, the Hilf al-Ahlaf, kept the presidential things, the parliament, they kept the Liwa, basically the presidency, and they kept the Sidana, which is opening the Kaaba, controlling who gets in and out. So they kept the kind of prestigious roles, while Abdu Manaf and Hashim, the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kept the services. It is actually very important to understand that when you are providing services to people, feeding them, give them drinks, that gives you closeness to people. That gives you rahmah. That gives you khair. You're doing good. The other roles that Abdul Dar rule were actually presidential. They're all look good on paper, but you're not doing any services to anybody. You are the leader in name. So people were more in line with Abdu Manaf, people, Hashim and his brothers and his then kids. I will skip this Hilf al-Fudul later on, inshallah, although actually it matters here. And Arabs it mattered to them who you are, a family of what. For example, in this story that I'm going to say now, which happened at the time of Rasulullah, we're not jumping, but we have to mention this story in the context of alliances and tribalism. People come from Hajj, and people come to Hajj not only to do Hajj, by the way. At the time of Arabs, they come to Hajj to do business. There is Suq Uqad, there is business that you do around the Kaaba. So people did that. One of the people from Azd, it's a tribe near Yemen, came with merchandise, and he wanted to sell it, and he sold it to Al-As ibn Wa'il. Al-As ibn Wa'il was one of the leaders of Quraysh, and he is the father of Amr ibn al-As. Al-As ibn Wa'il was very rich, but because this Azdi from Yemen, he's from far away, small tribe, came and wanted to sell him something, he took it and didn't want to pay him back. He felt like, I'm a Qurashi, I'm a leader, why should I pay this guy? He doesn't have a tribe, he doesn't have defenders, he doesn't have protection. He doesn't have a clan, right? Who's going to defend him? And rightfully, this Yazdi guy went and complained to his alliance, the Hilf al-Ahlaf, his Bani Makhzum and Bani Jumah. He said, your guy is taking my money, please help me out. Nobody helped him. But the Hilf al-Mutayyibin, the good Hilf, which is basically the Banu Hashim tribe, they were angry. This should not happen in Kaaba. This should not happen in Mecca, where somebody comes, does business, and we do not give them their money back. Therefore, they allied again with other tribes, and they gathered in something called Hilf al-Fudul. And this Hilf al-Fudul happened in 590 AD, and Rasulullah ﷺ was about 20 years old then. And he attended this gathering, where they decided, we the people of Quraysh, who are party to this Hilf al-Fudul, the allies of the virtuous ones, agree on the following. Anyone comes and complains about being stripped of their property or being aggressed against, we will support them even if they're not part of our clan. The support was predominantly based on the clan, based on the tribe. Now, regardless, even if you're not from my clan, and I see that there was injustice done to you, I will take care of you. So that Hilf al-Fudul, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was very proud that he attended. Actually, in the hadith it says, I attended with my uncles, he was 20, so his uncles were the leaders of that Hilf. I attended with my uncles in the house of Abdullah ibn Jad'an. And Abdullah ibn Jad'an was another big leader and a very rich leader of Mecca. When I say rich leaders, think of the billionaires of this time, like when they want to feed, they spend on 1,000 people, 2,000 people like walima. Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, for example, was so rich that he would say, I would build the Kaaba. The Quraysh would get angry. No, you cannot build the Kaaba. We need to build the Kaaba together. He said, I will build the Kaaba. So he would go ahead and build 3 walls of the Kaaba and they will build 1 wall. That's how rich sometimes people used to be, but they're also generous. They're tribalism, but they're also generous because that to them matters a lot. People go and talk. Oh, Al-Walid ibn Mughira did that. Abdullah ibn Jud'an did that. Remember, there was not deen and iman. It was all about tribalism, my clan, your clan. We did, you did not do. We fed, you did not feed. And that again will come very visible later on. So Rasulullah attended this alliances of Hilf al-Fudul, and he says, والله لو ما أحب أن لي حمر النعم ولو دعيت به إلى الإسلام لأجبت. Like I would not exchange my participation in that alliances, even if you give me the red camels, and the red camels are like the most expensive, nice camels. I would leave those away and go and attend that meeting and participate. And if I have been invited again to participate in such an alliance in Islam, I would have responded positively to it because it was a good thing to do. It was a virtuous thing to do. So again, those tribes of Banu Hashim, Banu Abd Manaf were very aligned with good and with virtue against the tribe of Al-Ahlaf, Banu Makhzum, and the other ones, which are more of this posturing leadership, and it was a great distinction. And now, talking about Mecca as an economy. So we talked about it as a politics, leadership, who is there, who's the decision maker. And we talked about Hashim as being one of the leaders of Mecca after Qusay, after Abd Manaf. But before we talk about Hashim, what did he do? Remember that Arabs respected Kaaba. Throughout the journey history from Ibrahim alayhi salam to the Jurhama, to the Ghassan, to the Adnanat, to what is it, the other tribe that controlled Mecca, all the way to Quraysh again, they respected the Haram. They respected that religion. Yes, they obviously messed it up at some point, and we'll discuss that, but they still respected the Kaaba. So all the Arabs would come to Kaaba from different areas. For them, the Quraysh people, that was a trade opportunity. So economy of Quraysh was based on Hajj. People come to Hajj and they will exchange goods, exchange merchandise. Makkah will make money actually also out of selling the Hajjis their ihram. It wasn't ihram, it was like some clothes that they have to buy from Meccan people. They used to sell them some food as well. So it made a good business. Does this kind of ring a bell? So you make a good business out of Hajj season. And it was the culture, it was the time, and they were actually the same Ashhur al-Hurum. You know, remember the Rajab, the Qa'dah, the Hijjah, and Muharram, they were still haram months. People will not fight. So during these 4 months, trade will be very good, and people will come to Hajj, and they will have 3 markets. Uqad, and another 2 markets, sequentially, each one is like 2 weeks, and in each market you buy and sell, and you make money, you lose money, you do your business, and Mecca benefits from that. So to start with, Mecca had a business deal because of Allah Rahmah. They had the Kaaba, so they had business. But Hashim, the grandfather of Rasulullah, grand-grandfather of Rasulullah, or the great-grandfather of Rasulullah, as I said, was a smart leader from Banu Manaf. And he was involved in all these services of Kaaba. At a couple years, people of Quraysh, the trade was so bad, there was no crops that could come to them, there was no food, there is no money, they actually used to die out of hunger. So Hashim didn't accept that. So he started figuring out a way to do business, big business rather than small little business, because the businesses were very small. Like this family have a couple caravans, have a couple camels, they'll go out from here to there. They will not even go to Sham. They will not even go to Yemen yet. They will just go locally, right? Local markets. It's like trading between each other, but not big trade. Hashim was the first one to organize the big trade to Sham and to Yemen. And what he did, he went to Yemen one time, and he was buying merchants from them, and Yemen was very cheap. Because if going to one of the states where no tax is there, and you just move the goods from that state with no tax to a state with high tax, and the goods are very expensive there, right? So he realized that there is a big price difference between Yemen and Sham. And in certain times, people need his services because, as I described previously, if I can go back to that slide, as I described previously, Arabs used to, or like the trade used to go through the Red Sea, from Yemen all the way to Red Sea, through the Mediterranean Sea to Gaza, to Alexandria, through the Red Sea. But if the Persian Empire was controlling Yemen, just like the Houthis are controlling Yemen now, they would block the Red Sea trade. So when they block the Red Sea trade, because the Red Sea trade benefits the Byzantine, benefits the Roman, and they were their enemies. So they want to block the trade. So when the Byzantine could not trade through the sea, they would need goods. So they would be waiting for the Arabs to bring the camels and the caravans through the land line. So when the Red Sea line is blocked, the land line flourishes. And that's where Hashim realized that he could do a big business out of that. And he did actually that. He realized that I could make a business out of this, and he did decide to organize this business. Rather than individual people just taking a couple camels here and there, going from this area to that area, he organized 5 markets. Or 4 markets, and the 5th is maybe a given one. And so he went to Gaza first. And by the way, Gaza, until now, we call it Gaza to Hashim. The city of Gaza is called Gaza to Hashim. Why? Because Hashim, the great-grandfather of Rasulullah, used to do most of his trades in Gaza. He has actually, there's a mosque there with his name, and he died in Gaza. Hashim passed away in Gaza. So he did those trades from Mecca to Gaza. And when he went there, he decided to do more than just deliver the goods and come back. He kind of conducted treaties, kind of exclusive merchants agreement, license agreement. I'm not sure the business people maybe give a good terminology for that, but it was, I can go and trade in Gaza, and trade in Levant, and trade in Bilad al-Rum, in Byzantine areas, with permission and protection of the Byzantine. Nobody should interrupt me, nor should we tell me don't come here. Because, by the way, although it was primitive, but there was borders, there was like army who will be kind of controlling the routes, and they would make sure that whoever gets in has permission. So Hashim got that permission from the north. He did the same thing with the south, with the Himyarites in the Yemen. So now Hashim can freely go from north to south. But there is a problem. In the middle, there are Arab tribes. And Arab tribes used to make money not only by trade, but also by stealing goods. They're bandits, They will stop anybody, give me your camel, give me your money, I will live you survive, right? That was like part of the trade, part of the kind of culture. So Hashim realized that. So him being the descendants of Adnan, and he is the leader of Quraysh, he is the protector of the Kaaba, he had a prestige. He also looked good, by the way. Hashim and the lineage of Rasulullah, all of them looked, mashallah, good. They were tall, they're handsome. When they speak with confidence. And that's why people kind of respected them. Even Abraha, when he saw Abdul Muttalib, when he came in to destroy Kaaba, he saw Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib came, and with that handsome face and beautiful face and big body, he said, I should go down and meet this guy. He looks like impressive. So they were like all looking good. So Hashim also looked very good. And he went to Yemen, he did the same treaty there. And he did that with the Abyssinian kingdom. But the Arabs needed to also be controlled. So what he did, he said, listen guys, instead of you stealing me, why don't we do business together? I'm going anyway, give me your goods, I'll sell it for you, I'll bring back the profit. And obviously he has to give back the profit because he has to go pass through their tribe. So if he doesn't give them profit, basically the commission, they're going to take his stuff. So he did alliances throughout the route, from Yemen all the way to Bilad al-Sham, and now he secured his caravans. So Hashim is the one that created the ilaf. In Surah Quraysh we read, لِإِيلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِيلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ. Arabs did trade, but did not do organized trade. Hashim, which is Amr, the great-grandfather of Rasulullah, is the one who organized the trade for Mecca. Made it a ritual to go one time south to Yemen and to Aksum in the winter time. And in the summertime, where would they go? They would go north to Busra, Sham, and sometimes to Iraq. And Iraq was secured, the route to Iraq was secured through Yathrib. And I'll tell you Yathrib what matters to Hashim why. So because he wanted to organize all the trade, he has to stop at Yathrib. Because Yathrib was actually at the juncture towards Iraq. If you maybe go to the map again. Yathrib was at the juncture of Iraq. So you need to go through it. Yathrib is somewhere, yeah, here. So you go north and then make a right turn and goes toward Iraq area. So that's a big market there. So he actually stopped at Yathrib multiple times, and he ended up marrying from Yathrib. He married from which house of Yathrib? They are, remember, Khazraji and Banu Najjar. And you remember that name. Banu Najjar is very important in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Hashim, the great-grandfather of Rasulullah, married from Yathrib. His wife remained in Yathrib because he married her while he's in the route, actually. So he married, he stayed there a little bit, and he continued to Gaza, and he passed away in Gaza. Hashim never came back after he married the Banu Najjar girl from Yathrib. So he passed away in Gaza. When he came back, his wife actually already conceived, and she's pregnant, and she delivered a baby. So Hashim passes away in Gaza, but he established a trade that his kids and grandkids will flourish, and Mecca now moved from just a small trade dependent on the haram to big market. It's like a hub now. Hub with license, hub with agreements, hub with ilaf. And this ayah in the Quran, surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Quraysh, describes the two advantages of Quraysh, which is الذي أطعمهم من خوف وآمنهم أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. They were hungry at the time, the beginning time of Hashim, and now they are rich, actually filthy rich, because of this trade. And some narrations say that they could do for the dollar, they could make $10 between Yemen and Sham. Because in the time of the war, when the Silkway from China, India to Europe was stopped, and the route was stopped, the Red Sea route was stopped by the Persian, that was the only route to get goods to Byzantine. So they would charge 10 times. Smart business people. And they are secure within Mecca because it's the haram. Nobody will attack them in the haram. So their business was secured by the ilaf. Their existence was secured by the haram. And now they are making money. Allah gave Quraysh everything. Allah gave Quraysh everything. And Hashim was a key person in that. So talking about Hashim and his story, going to Yathrib to, again, kind of secure the routes to Iraq and to Sham. He married from Banu Najjar. He have a baby boy now that he's not aware of. He died in Gaza, didn't come back. And the mother gives the birth to a boy called Shaybatul Hamd. Shayba, because he had a little bit of a gray hair here, and that's a good sign in Arabs, like a white hair in the black hair is like a sign of wealth, like a sign of barakah. So they call him Shaybatul Hamd. Shaybatul Hamd is basically the son of Hashim. But nobody knew. His mother never went back to Mecca. She stayed with her family, Banu Najjar, in Medina. Years later, who's the leader of Mecca now is the sons of Hashim, Al-Muttalib. One of them is Al-Muttalib, a brother of Hashim. The brother of Hashim is Al-Muttalib. His name is Al-Muttalib. So Hashim is the leader. Now he passes away. The leader of Quraysh from the clan of Banu Abd Manaf is Al-Muttalib. Al-Muttalib gets to know, subhanAllah, look at this story. One of the merchants, again, was traveling through Yathrib, and he sees this Shayba. Like I see my son, or I see my cousin, and I recognize he's my blood. Arabs had that. Recognizing where are you from, but just by the looks of your face, the way you speak. So this guy recognized, this guy is like Qurashi. He looks like from Quraysh. So he asked about him. Oh yeah, he's the son of Hashim. He came, married our girl, and he's gone. We never seen him again. Why did you take him? He didn't take him. He's not relative to him. So he went to Al-Muttalib, the uncle of Shayba. He said, "Hey, your nephew is in Medina. I saw him. Go get him." So Al-Muttalib, because that's his lineage, that's his blood. So he went to Yathrib to get his nephew. And he met with the uncles of the Banu Najjar, the kid from Banu Najjar. He said, I want to take my son. Obviously my son because he's my brother's son. And they gave it to him without the knowledge of his mom. Some narrations say she knew. But anyway, he took Shayba with him. He said, you are my nephew, I'm your uncle. You're going to go back home. You are the leader of your people there. So Shayba came with him, and he was riding back on the back of the camel with Al-Muttalib, going back to Mecca, entering Mecca. And the people of Mecca asking Al-Muttalib, who is this kid with you, man? Where do you get that from? He said, that's my slave. That's my abd. So the Meccans people recognize him as what? Abdul Muttalib. So Abdul Muttalib name is Shayba, but he was named because of that joke that Al-Muttalib, his uncle, called him my Abd. Because they didn't know who's this boy. So his name is Abdul Muttalib. So when you hear the name Abdul Muttalib, that's not his real name. His name is Shayba. But that's the story behind that. But the main part of it that he came from, remember that, he came from Bani Najjar and he was raised there. So the relationship with Bani Najjar established from before. And Rasulullah ﷺ will use that inshallah to his advantage. Now Abdul Muttalib, this kid, Shayba, is the leader of Quraysh. And actually he fought his uncles to get back his rights. Because, you know, once the boy is away, the Hashim is gone, nobody gave him his rights. He fought and got his rights. He actually called his Banu Najjar uncles to help him get his right back. Now, Abdul Muttalib again, another serious, charismatic leader, truthful to the message. He was continuing the service of Banu Abd Manaf, you know, feeding the Hajij, giving them drinks, securing the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People loved Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib was a very charismatic guy. As I said, Abraha came down and just wanted to sit with him on the ground just to chat with this guy. Look, he's, you know that when, by the way, looks get you places. I'm not sure if you believe that or not, but looks get you places in America, anywhere else in the world, gets you places. Even in Arabia, it did get you places. So Abdul Muttalib had actually specific advantages as well. He was the one, through the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It wasn't like because he was digging. He was the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him while he was asleep where is the Zamzam well was. So Abdul Muttalib was the one that uncovered Zamzam again. And that was a big achievement for the Quraysh people. For 300 years, nobody knew where is Zamzam. And imagine not finding water in the desert. So when you find water in the desert, basically that is the biggest gift for Makkah again. So Abdul Muttalib secured his leadership. Abdul Muttalib secured his job as the Khadimul Haram, you know, Sidana, the Siqaya. And until now they call it Khadimul Haramain, right, for that purpose, because the Arabs did that. Quran actually describes that. أَجَعَلْتُمْ سِقَايَةَ الْحَاجِ. You know, in the Quran says, did you make these services you do to Hajis as important as to worship the true God? No. Obviously, the Quran says, no, it's not, but it was them for it was really crucial. So Abdul Muttalib uncovered Zamzam again. Abdul Muttalib was the one who faced Abraha. Yes, he did not fight him, but he actually gave him the message that this is the house of Allah. It's not my job to protect, it's Allah's job to protect. My job is to protect my camel. Give me my camel. So he gave him the sense that this house has a Lord, has a deity that is beyond our capacity. And we know what happened with Surah Al-Fil, right? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed the Abraha army. And that is not because Abdul Muttalib was the faithful man, but he made dua as well. All the Quraysh people made dua. Remember, I'm going to come to the faith issue. Quraysh people still are the people of the Haram. They still believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that this is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They just made a lot of business out of it, in addition to worshipping Allah. So that's where the Abdul Muttalib comes in. Abdul Muttalib didn't have a lot of kids. Initially he had, I think, one son. But then he made a dua that, Allah, if you give me 10 kids, 10 boys, I'm going to slaughter one of them for you. I'm going to sacrifice one of my boys for you. And when Abdul Muttalib got older in age, and he lived long time, got more kids, almost 10 kids and more girls actually, I think total 18, 12 and 6. 12 boys, 6 girls. He had to fulfill his nadhr. And this is an attribute to Abdul Muttalib, that he's honest. When he does and promise something, he will do it. So he actually was about to sacrifice his son, and they picked Abdullah as a sacrifice. Just like Ismail alayhi salam was picked to be sacrificed by Ibrahim, Abdullah, the father of our prophet, was picked to be sacrificed. But then people of Quraysh got upset, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? We find a way for you. We'll find a way for you. So they found a way through some magicians and kahana and, you know, the idol worshippers. They found an exit for them by sacrificing 10 camels instead of him. And I hope I'm not saying that wrong. It could be 10 or 100, I'm not sure. And this is like the diya. This is how much money you have to pay now if you killed somebody to get out of prison, like jail card. you have to pay equivalent to 100 camels, for example. Whatever the number of camels that Abu Abdul Muttalib had to slaughter instead of killing his son, he had to do that then, and that was the diya. Now, until now, they use it as a good standard for diya. So the Abdullah, the father of Rasulullah, was not slaughtered. Instead, he was at the age of getting married. Now he wanted to get married, and Abdullah got married to, obviously, Amina bint Wahb, and it's from another clan, from Quraysh. But all these alliances will matter at some point when Rasulullah ﷺ come. So now Abdullah is married with Amina, and same thing, and you know the story. We're going to talk about Rasulullah's birth maybe next time, but that's where the clan of Rasulullah stops. But Makkah then looks the following. Makkah was politically divided between the Abdu Manaf and Abduddar and their alliances. They still don't like each other, because it's all about control of the resources, control of the prestige, control of the duties. Republican and Democrat, right? They're not going to like each other. They're going to they figure out a way to live together, but they're not going to have same agenda. So that's what was going on in Makkah. Makkah was rich then, because Hashim and his trade created so much business for Makkah that actually Makkans never ate with spoons and stuff. Now they have tables and spoons and you have a dining room and stuff. Makkah had businesses that actually goes all the way around Arabia. Makkah now, although still primitive, because never had a real civilization in terms of advancement, like manufacturing, agriculture, or anything. Like Makkah, when they need dates, when they need any fruits, they will get it from Ta'if. Ta'if was good with that. They had the good weather. They were mountainous area. They get water. So Makkah, Ta'if was there. What call it? Ta'if was there from Florida for buffalo. The Meccan people, the rich Meccan people, will have gardens there. Will have second houses there. When the Mecca is so hot in the summer, they will go to Ta'if to spend their summers there. Like Abdullah, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, Abdullah ibn Jada'an, all these leaders, the older ones actually, they were older, 80 and above. In the summer, you don't see them in Mecca. You'll see them in Ta'if, with Taqif people in their gardens, enjoying the weather there. So Mecca reached a level of prosperity in terms of money that actually nobody have witnessed before. So they were the leaders of financial markets, the leader of the religious markets, and a couple more things that I'm going to mention now. So that's where the economy is established. Religion. Obviously, that's the most important thing. That's why we have Rasulullah ﷺ, is religion. It's not the trade, it's not the politics, but the religion. So Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail came with Tawheed. It was monotheism. وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. When Ibrahim was calling people for Hajj, he wasn't calling people to worship Hubal or the statues. They were worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And people did worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the time of Ibrahim to the time of Ismail, even throughout the time of Jurhum. When they were residing with them, they were worshiping Allah, only Allah. It's only when Khuza'ah, that tribe that I told you, that took leadership of Mecca from Jurhum, that the Arabia moved to idolatry or shirk and polytheism. Amr ibn Luhay is a leader of Khuza'ah. He was controlling Mecca. And he was a very active guy. Again, remember in Mecca, if you do the job good, like do the siqaya, the rifada, the take care of the Kaaba, the Hajj, you feed, you give the Hajj, people will give you charge. So as long as you're doing the services, you're in charge. And he was powerful, he was wealthy. But Abdullah ibn Luhay, it seems, got fed up with our religion, the Hanifi religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. In his trips to, I think it's, I will maybe correct my statement. I think it's again another way to grab power. And I'll tell you why. In his trips, again, they're doing business, merchandise, back and forth. He went to Levant area, and there was the Amalik. You know the Amalik? The Palestinians, the Amaliks that the Jews hate. And they are in the Gaza area, in the Levant area. So this Amr ibn Luhay went there, and they saw them as mighty people, successful people, strong, civilized, building big houses. Their business was flourishing. They are strong. They won every war. Literally, they won every war. So he said, how come you are so powerful? So they told him, oh, because we worship this. We worship this idol. They made idols. So the Amaleks, all the way in Levant area, in Palestine and Gaza area, they had idols. So this Amr ibn Luhay, the leader of Khuza'a, who was controlling Mecca, he said, wow, so if I get that, if I borrow their God and take it with me to Mecca, Mecca will be even more powerful now. Nobody can beat us. Nobody can dictate what should we do. And therefore, I would bring it. He was the first one to introduce idols into Arabia. He brought it from Levant area. And he brought Hubal. You know Hubal. When Quraysh talk about the Asnam, they talk about their statues. The first and the biggest and the largest and the most powerful is Hubal. It came from Levant. Then other tribes like the idea. You know, misery loves company. So other tribes love the idea. Thaqif, Ta'if area, they also made their own god called Allat. You know, we have a Hubal, we have a Lat. And Allat was actually a name for a good person. A good person who is a leader. Remember, these people were good people, good person to their people. Like they were doing the services, they were rich, they were generous. So nobody will doubt why they're doing this. Nobody will doubt evil. They will think of them as trying to do good. So Allat was actually somebody who would feed as many people as you can think. And the word latta yalittu from actually making like soup. And he would be serving soup to everybody. So they called, when he died, they made a statue for Allat, their leader, and they started worshipping it. Every tribe did the same. Abs did the same. Yathrib people did the same. Yathrib, I think they had the Manat. And Quraysh also had Al-Uzza. Al-Uzza wa Manat, these are also names of angels, and they are called them the daughters of Allah, wal-iyadhu billah. You know, in the Quran, the kuffar of Quraysh worship, they call Allah having girls, the angels, and they give them names. Lat and Uzza and Manat, Uzza and Manat, and other, names, wal-iyadhu billah, all the way up to maybe 360 different gods with statues around Kaaba now. Why around Kaaba? Because Kaaba was holy. Kaaba was holy. So everybody would go to Kaaba to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they also said, well, since we are worshiping Allah, let's also get a little bit of a VIP pass to Allah through our idol. People of Arabia realized that these statues are not the gods. They are their VIP ascending way to God. Like they were so worthless that they needed help to get to Allah. They were not worthy of communicating with Allah directly. They were not good enough to make dua and supplication and prayer to Allah directly. They needed a vehicle. These were the statues. That's shirk. Although they are not worshipping these idols, they're just using them as a mechanism to get closer to Allah. They know who is Allah. They cannot forget that. Once you know something, you cannot unknow it. They know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the holy deity in the heavens that controls everything, but they thought of themselves as too little, too kind of guilty, sinful, that they could not just directly go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And unfortunately, it doesn't require a lot of change in mind to duplicate this in multiple scenarios. Yes, these people got stones, worshipped it. Although sometimes they got dates, made a stone out of it, worshipped it. Sometimes actually they got a little bit of sand. They didn't have a stone. They didn't have their idol. They will go and get some sand, get some milk on top of that sand, make a little bit of a body and worship it. Sometimes they'll take a small brick from the Kaaba and take it with them and worship it. But they still believe that there is Allah. And in the Quran says, وَمَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيقَرِّبُونَ اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. We do not worship them the only reason why we worship them is just to get us closer to Allah. And I'm thinking like righteous people like Allat is becoming a god. Places where we just dumped something and now became like fruitful or something, we start worshipping. Changing the narrative from somebody who is just working for the sabilillah to some holy person that we have to now ask for his forgiveness and maybe or a wali or somebody with high standard, I will now ask him instead of asking Allah. Does this ring a bell now? Where people can easily go into small hidden shirk gradually by not directly talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of people go to graveyards and they do masih on the grave. And they make dua in the names of the person who's dead in the grave. Like some of the Arabs did, because as I said, Allah was a good guy. Even those idols that Nuh alayhi salam, his people worshipped. There are 5 idols that Nuh people worshipped. Suwa'a, there are 5 names. Those were actually good people. They're pious people. But people made idols for them and worshiped the good, pious people and forgot the worship of Allah. And this is a risk that anybody can go through in different formats. So now we are having this big problem with people visiting graveyards and making supplication and dua to the people dead in the grave, putting money, putting charity, putting sadaqah, slaughtering animal in front of the graveyard of a wali, of a murid or a ustaz. And that's, waliyadu billah, is part of the shirk. So Arabia got into that same problem, but the culprit guy was Amr ibn al-Hayy. And how do we know that? There is a hadith in the Bukhari, I think, where it says, Rasulullah says, I saw Amr ibn al-Hayy. So Rasulullah was seen or told the unseen. لَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ عَمْرَ بْنُ الْحَيِّ يَجُرُّ أَخْمَاصَهُ, I think the word. I saw Amr ibn al-Hayy kind of collecting his intestine. Like he's already been tortured in Jahannam and his intestines are out. He saw him and he was asked why. And he said because he was the first one to change the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He is the one who actually introduced idolatry into the faith of the Ibrahim alayhi salam people. And every tribe made a point to bring their idol closer to the Kaaba. That's a sign of power as well. Like my idol is in the Kaaba, or around the Kaaba, or in the Kaaba sometimes. Therefore, we collected 360 of them. That's why when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the Fathu Makkah, the liberation of Makkah, 360 Sanam idol was there that he demolished completely. All right, so that's the religion of Makkah. So they started with monotheism and Tawheed, dragged themselves into polytheism and idolatry. But to give Quraysh the credit, they're not the one who introduced idolatry, right? It was the Khuza'a people. Khuza'a people are the one who did that. But Quraysh obviously have the same guilt because they just carried on without questioning the issue. All right? And finally, we're going to talk about Makkah as culture and literature and media. And it is important in the context of Quran al-Kareem to understand why Makkah mattered. Why Quraysh specifically mattered. Why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was from Quraysh. So let's imagine again the hub that we are in. Makkah is the hub. Everybody comes to the hub, right? Everybody comes to Makkah to do business, to worship, to have their idol, to actually, in the market, and I'm going to talk about this now, in the market, it wasn't just like, it wasn't just a market, it was everything. Think of a convention. We are going to a convention, there is some business going on, there is some teaching going on, there is some science going on. Yeah, trade fair. So there is actually a lot of things happening. So what's happening is business. What's happening is agreement, trade agreements. What's happening there is literature competition. And the only literature that Arab knew then was sha'r, poetry, right? All Arabs were just like living by and dying by somebody who can say a couple good lines of poetry. And if their tribe has a famous guy, famous poet, they would be very proud of him. Like Abs, when they had Antara, they were very proud of him. Dhubiyan, when they had a Nabigha Dhubiani, were very proud of him. In Medina, when Hassan ibn Thabit was one of the tribe of Medina, they were very proud of him. Having an instrument like a sha'ir, a poet, in your tribe was like owning the biggest media company in the world. That was their media. There was no TV channels, newspapers. There was no paper actually used in Arabia. Very little, very little. So sha'r, poetry was their way of communicating big news. So remember that as the guy that was, his merchants were taken and was never given back by As ibn al-Wa'il. What did he do? When he complained, did he think he wrote something? He said a couple lines of poetry that actually just demolished the Meccan people. So they were very ashamed. So poetry was their tool to advertise news, advertise agreements, wars, brag about themselves, brag about their abilities and all that. So where does all that happen? Around Mecca. Around Mecca. In the market before Hajj. There are 3 markets before Hajj. When everybody is coming to Mecca, when everybody is trying to do business and to do literature and to compete in poetry, and back they were competing in poetry, like there will be like couple geniuses of poetry like Nabigh al-Dubyani, Zuhair ibn Abi Sulma. These are like the owners of the mu'allaqat. The mu'allaqat are the kind of lines of poetry that are hanged in the Kaaba. Famous. These will be judges. Think of the competition of now, like judging voices, judging talents. These were the judges, and people come to them and speak poetry in front of them so that they give them ijaza. They give them tarkhis, like, you're good. You're a good guy. You're a good poet. So, and his tribe will be proud of him. All of these people, coming from Iraq, coming from Sham, coming from Yemen, coming from anywhere in Arabia, had to speak one language. Not Arabic per se, the Quraysh Arabic. Why? Because the competition was in Quraysh Arabic. It's around Quraysh, so that's the only language spoken in those markets. Therefore, all the Arabs knew Quraysh language. Quraysh didn't have to know all the Arab languages, by the way, because they weren't going all the way, although they do travel, but the Arabs needed to know Quraysh language. Therefore, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to reveal the Quran in the Quraysh language, it wasn't like a random thing. He knew, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with his obvious, ultimate knowledge, that's going to be an easy way to deliver the message because everybody understands that kind of Arabic, the Quraysh Arabic. So these markets were not just business places. They were actually places where all the efforts from all the civilization thing, all the kind of literature and culture was brought to these markets, and Quraysh controlled all that. And the last thing was that they actually spoke that language that everybody has to speak later on because of the Quran, and everybody spoke Quraysh language. And Quran came in the Quraysh language. While they were like still rich and all that, but still not civilized because they didn't have like calendars, they didn't have buildings that are high-rise or like even more than 1.5-story thing. So they were still living like a Bedouin life, but now they have more money. And that, again, keeps reminding me of what's going on in these days. Like, you still think of yourself as not sophisticated, that they have not invented anything. The only thing they have excelled in is language. They have not invented anything. Their business is basically based on commission and, moving things from around. They're not really in agriculture, but they were making a lot of money. And that's not really a good way to flourish, but they were happy. They were feeling arrogant. They were feeling proud of themselves, and they were feeling that they owned the whole thing. They owned slaves. They had people, because again, it's a holy place. Other Arabs come to them and say, listen, you are Banu Manaf, you are holy, you are noble. Can my clan come and live with you, and we will be your allies? And that was a sign of strength. Imagine that you are now collecting other people from Arab tribes because you are noble, because you're powerful. They ask for your protection, and in return, they provide your support. So in the war, when I'm going to go to fight another tribe, I'll take my mawla, mawali, called mawali. Say, so-and-so, mawla, so-and-so. He is not his slave, but he is under his protection. And the slaves are a different level. So Makkah's had slaves, Makkah has mawalis, ahbash, who are also called slave, and Makkah has the Quraysh people, the leaders. And those are the top-notch ones. And those are the ones who actually created the biggest problem. Mawali and ahbash were very cooperative in terms of religion, and inshallah we're going to be talking about that when we talk about the Ba'ath of Rasulullah and all that. But that's the status of Makkah in terms of Arabs, lineage, and the business, the religion, the media, the economy, and the politics. And the politics is one of the major things, plus the commerce, because that trade, the ilaf Quraysh, is crucial to the sustenance of Makkah. If that ilaf disappears, Makkah is no more. If that safety net doesn't exist, Makkah is no more. So Allah has given Makkah great bounties that, walayadu billah, they have not used it the best way. They have stayed on shirk because of the Khuza'a people, and they remained evil until, inshallah, the next time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam shows in Arabia, and that will be our next lecture. Jazakumullah khair. And if anybody has any question about this part of the lecture or what we have discussed, then inshallah I'm happy to take a couple questions before Isha. That's a lot of information maybe, but it's a story. I try to kind of pinpoint where I can see the repetitions, yes. Absolutely, yeah. 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 Yes. Yeah, the Surah of Quraysh happened at the time of Rasulullah, and they were already idol worshippers, yes. They had Allat, they had Hubal, main, Uzza, and they had other ones, but every tribe has its own, yeah. If sisters have questions, do you have a way to? Yeah, okay. Just, yeah, go ahead. And again, some of these things may not be relevant now to the Sirah as we are talking about it, because I'm narrating a history of Arabia, but many of these things, inshallah, when we talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, you will see that myself or one of the brothers who will be presenting will be going back and tell you. And remember, Hashim was married to a Najjari lady, and that's why Rasulullah had this alliance with Najjars. And when we talk about the Hilf al-Fudul and Hilf al-Mutayyibin and Hilf al-Ahlaf, we know why certain people didn't play well with Rasulullah. They didn't find it that they could believe in him because of the old alliances. So these will become relevant when we talk about the bi'tha and the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, you have to, but they have to download the Slido app, right?
No, they can just go to
Slido.com and put the code. If you have a question, but if anybody from the brothers have any comment, question about the last, yes. It was 100 camels, thank you. So the diya, basically, if you kill somebody and you want to get a free out of jail card, you have to pay 100 camels. So that's what Abdul Muttalib did to save his son, Abdullah, the father of our Prophet. He had to slaughter 100 camels. And that has been the tradition until now. Like if you go to Saudi Arabia, you have to slaughter 100 camels to kind of get out of the i'dam, you know, the slaughter. If you kill somebody. Which one? I don't know. I don't know. Did Rasulullah sacrifice 100 camels as well? For what? For Hajj, yeah. 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 That's Hadi. That's Hadi. Hadi is the ibadah. That was Nadr. But you see, Arabs have this tradition of counting by tens and hundreds because they're not very, it's a bragging. Again, when we talk about numbers that are in the history books, sometimes they're actually accurate, sometimes they're not accurate. That's why I'm trying not to mention specific numbers unless I have read them somewhere with authenticity. Allahu Alam, if Rasulullah did actually slaughter the 100 camels exactly, or it mentioned, yeah, okay. So maybe it's relevant. But others don't. Remember, you know, we go to Mecca for Hajj, we slaughter just a small hadi. Yeah. Okay, if nobody has any other questions, if no other sisters have a question, there are sisters, if you have questions, you can go to slido.com and put that code and just ask the question, we'll see it here. What is the relevance of murder and revenge killing? I've not talked about revenge killing yet. I don't think I've talked about revenge killing. What is relevant? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, obviously, as I said, since then it has been, if you have killed somebody and you want to not be punished, because in Arabia, just like, you know, from the old history, the punishment for killing somebody, you have to be killed. Okay? So to save yourself, you have to pay a minimum diya. Diya is like the amount of money you have to pay for the family of the deceased to say, I'm sorry. And that was about 100 camels. We got it from the story of Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. Other people have just converted that to money. So I think in Jordan we do have a closer to, somebody can check that out. I think it was 25,000 dinars. So, but that's like $50,000 or $40,000. I'm not sure if it's the same now or not. But there is a amount of money that if you kill somebody, for the family to forgive you, you have to pay this much money. An exact amount. And actually there is a price calendar for an arm, a leg, Other parts of the body, like if you have caused somebody so much damage, you pay this much money. And it's called diya, right? Yes. Yeah, something like that, yeah. And 100 camels is a lot of money. If you think about 100 camels, like what is a camel now? What, $10,000 maybe? At least, right? So that's a fortune. But you have killed somebody, so it's not an easy thing to just for the family to forgive you for a camel or two. So maybe 100,000 is worth it. Allahu alam. Yeah. There is a way always. Money can change things, Anyway, so what we have done covered the regional area, we covered the business dealing, we covered the politics, we covered Arabia, lineage, tribalism, and tribalism is a big deal in Arabia. You need to keep that in mind, that Rasulullah ﷺ came to this environment where it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, it matters also who are you, the son of who's your grandfather, what's your lineage. People ask about you. And actually, people know who you are just by telling them I'm a son of this and so. So they know exactly what happened. And if your fathers did something shameful, you will be burned. You'll not get a job. You're blacklisted. It matters to them. Obviously, there are alliances, and some people will, regardless of what you did, they will still accept you, and some people will reject you. But it mattered who you are. Therefore, it is important to know that the lineage of Rasulullah ﷺ was one of the best. And he said that about himself. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen Ibrahim and has chosen Ismail and chosen Bani Kinana from Ismail. And he's chosen Banu Hashim from Bani Kinana. And he has chosen me from Bani Hashim. So he has said that Allah has made that choice of this lineage. And he was like saved for the best outcome. Now I want to just highlight one thing. I'm not sure if it matters or not to the idol worshipping aspect. But remember, from the time of Ismail alayhi salam or Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam until the time of the Meccans which are worshipping idols, it's close to about 2,000 years. Right? Around 2,000 years. So it's a long time of no prophets in that area. Banu Israel continuously had prophets, right? They continuously had religious reminders that you have to stay put on the Tawheed. But Arabia didn't get prophets. So there is a reason maybe why they kind of also went astray, because they didn't have guidance for 2,000 years. There's nobody there. And they were involved with merchants, so they have seen this culture, that culture, so they maybe learned some bad habits as well. Yes. Yes. So they are, some of them are descendants from Hashim, not from the lineage of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ per se, but Hashim, which is, again, one of the aspects of the lineage. Can the family be forced to accept the bank money? Some of the questions may be not relevant to what I've talked about, but I really don't know if money, back in Jordan, I know money can be used, yes. Yes, so some clans will have nobility over others. So the clan of Rasulullah ﷺ, even until now, the Ahlul Bayt, like the Sahaba and the teachings, we know that we have to respect Ahlul Bayt. As long as their deeds are in accordance with the teaching of Rasulullah ﷺ. So we have somebody who lives among us from the Ahlul Bayt, and where is Brother Idris? He's from Qurshi, right? Where is Idris? His last name is, yeah, he's there. Right, Idris, you are from Bani Quraysh? Yeah, so he's Qurshi. He's claiming that he's from Morocco, but he's also Qurshi. He's from Quraysh. So if he's from that lineage, then we'll show extra respect. Yeah, nobility in the family lineage remains as long as you maintain the reason for nobility. Like Abu Lahab is from the house of Hashim, right? He's the uncle of Rasulullah, Abdul Uzza. His name is Abdul Uzza, Abu Lahab. But he didn't maintain the concept of nobility within that lineage. So he's out of that. Khair, inshallah. Done, yeah. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك الله وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. If somebody can call the azan, inshallah.